on. Make sure this works.
I'm going to share this to my personal page.
Did I activate it? Let's see. All right, we're good. Welcome everyone. So today we have an all-star panel. I'm looking super forward to hearing from these players. We're going to be talking about, so like in the past, we talked about like team ridge and running teams, operating and splits. Today, we're going to talk about team growth and recruiting. And these are some of the best in the business that I personally know about. So why don't we start off with Joey? Tell us a little bit about your background. Go far back. It's just four of us. We have an entire hour.
Yeah, man. So I started my career, I was an actor for years. I got my degree in musical theater. I moved to New York to be a star. And that worked out for a hot second. And then I realized that I didn't have any money to take care of anybody. So
what's on your IMDb?
It was actually all musical theater. So there's nothing on IMDb. But anyway, so there's no resume there. I watched $1 Million Listing and I was like, well, shoot, I could do this. This is just, I've been selling myself for years. I could sell some properties. So got my real estate license and didn't make a single penny for 6 months. And I thought I was gonna have to quit. I was building people's IKEA furniture for money to pay the bills. And then I sort of just got it that nobody was waiting for me to arrive in the real estate world. And so I needed to start telling people that I had. And it sort of exploded. I did 12 million in the last 6 months of my first year. I did 24 my next year. I did 55 million my third year. Last year, my team, we closed just about 75 million in real estate sales. But I'm actually a remote team leader right now out in Cupertino, Palo Alto area. And I moved out here just about 3 years ago and took over Cupertino about 2.5 and just took over Keller Williams Palo Alto about 1 week before the shelter in place took over. So it's been quite a journey.
So do you live in the Cupertino area or do you live in New York?
I live in Sunnyvale, so I live right between the two.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. And is the team you're running in New York still existing and operating?
My team's still running in New York. We're shy a few people. I think, when a team leader leaves, it's tough to keep the motivation going. So It went from 5 people and now it's 3 of us. Okay. But 3 of us are still doing 75 million last year. So this year's been a little tough. Obviously with COVID, everyone's sort of struggling a little bit. And my price point is in that $4 to $6 million range. So things just don't move as fast.
Yeah, that's just still really impressive numbers for any team. That's really awesome. You're able to run the team on the opposite coast at that type of volume.
It's pretty crazy. But honestly, you can't get me to leave now. I love the West Coast. I'm never going back.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. Kyle, why don't you give us a little background information about yourself?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Kyle Whissel out of San Diego. I run a team with eXp Realty. We're up to about 40 agents on our team right now. By the time this year is over, we should sell north of 300 million. And if we can get off lockdown soon enough, hopefully we'll hit 400 million this year. So it has been fun. It's been crazy. And we're having a good time.
Thanks, Kyle. Wilson, what are you up to?
It's insane, Kyle. I aspire. My name's Wilson. We're here in the San Francisco Peninsula. I have a team of 8 agents, including staff. We have about 13 people. And the last 2 years, our average is a little above 100 million for 100 transactions. So each transaction is about $1 million.
Nice, very cool. A little about myself. So I'm Kenny Trung. I'm actually the smallest producer on here. This is really exciting. I was at Climb Real Estate for 5 years prior to now ESP for 3 months. During that time, our E team, including my stats, were about 106 million. But last year, I focused on my own core team of about 5 people. This time last year, we did $56 million for 66 transactions. But fast forward this year in January, I had 12 agents. Now I have 20. And then by end of June, I have 30 agents on my team. So we're looking to crack that. So the numbers are all weird, right? A lot of new agents. So we're looking to crack that 100 million this year. And maybe 2 years, we should be at 200 million. My goal by end of the year is to have 100 agents on my brokerage. I think it's going to happen this year. It's been a really exciting shelter in place, able to recruit. We're talking about recruiting today, right? Yeah, I recruited about 20 agents to my team during this little shelter. So super excited. I'd love to hear from you guys. So let's like how have you guys been attracting talent, and when did you decide you want to start a team? Wilson, I have you on the screen. Why don't you go?
Yeah, started building a team about 5 years ago. And that's when I valued my time and valued my time doing certain things in the business. You know, being a salesperson, it didn't make sense for me to do certain things that I was not well equipped for behaviorally and also from a skill set, and, you know, me not driving myself crazy. So that's when I started building a team. When we say team, I think we also mean our operational staff or support team. And I think a lot of the focus today is going to be attracting people on the sales side. So I think a team's value is really contributed by the support that you're able to provide your agents. So as we have worked on systems and finding the right people in different departments, we've added value for our agents to be able to save time and focus on certain tasks so they could make more dollar per hour, depending on whether they want to work full-time, more than full-time, or part-time and travel. So that's basically what we've done and what we've been focused on. Every single ops person, their goal is they serve two clients. One client is the end client, the buyer, the seller, and the second client is going to be the agent, and how can they better support and better improve their services for both of these people. And then, of course, for the agents, a philosophy that I've recently adopted and have learned from one of my mentors is you're not hiring the person to be a successful buyer's agent. You're hiring that person to improve the way that they service buyers. You're not hiring a listing specialist who's a rock star. You're hiring someone to improve the listing service department. So if this person can think about the improvement that they'll make for that position, you bet they're going to perform at a high level and they're going to constantly push. So that's our team and the way that we think about things currently. Now I have a lot to learn from obviously Joey, who more so recruits to a brokerage, and Kyle, who does the same, plus grows his own team too. Did you say 40, 30 agents, Kyle?
Yeah, we're up to about 40 right now.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure it's not so much, if I think about it, Kyle doesn't necessarily do more or spend more time. He's leveraged his time, and I'm curious to know what systems and processes and structure he's added to his business where he's able to support 30 agents. Because I think for a lot of the people in the audience, they might have a small team or aspire to build a team. The question is not so much, hey, look, I can build a relationship with one individual, but how do you do it at scale for 30 individuals? And they all feel special and they all are hitting their goals and pursuing something that you're helping them achieve. So that's something that's not easy. So I have something to learn on this call for sure.
Yeah, I love when people are like, you sold 300 minutes. Oh, but you have like 30 agents. You try having 30 agents. Let me know how that works out for you.
I think most people struggle with one and retaining one, you know? So
yeah, let me see
it's definitely
30 plus agents for a period of time. Let's see how that works. I've watched so many people. They're like Oprah. Oprah's weight. They go from like a solo agent to like 20 agents, back to a solo agent, to like 40 agents, to like out of the business, to like, all right, now I'm just going to have like 5. Like,
has it happened to you, Kyle? So personally, that's happened to me 3 times. I'm on my 3rd team. I finally got it right. Like what, like if you cares, like, so this is 2020 right now, like how many agents in 19, 18, 17, 16? I'm sure like you had a roller coaster, right?
Not a lot. We've been like pretty measured growth. I think the biggest thing is you've got to hire support in front of the growth. So the problem that I see a lot of people make and where their teams explode, there's 2 things. One is in the hiring process. I learned this. I went to a Keller Williams class years ago. It used to be called Recruit Select. Last time I heard it's called Career Visioning. It might be called something else now. But one of the first exercises they go through is making sure you understand the impact of making a bad hire. And a lot of us think like, well, if I hire someone and they suck, like I'll have wasted a lot of time. They won't have been a good fit. Like that sucks. But it's so much more than that. Like you make a bad hire, they can destroy your entire reputation. Like you could have worked a decade to build up this name and this brand. Like Kenny, of all people, you know branding better than anybody. Like you could build this amazing brand, but you hire the wrong person and they get pissed off, they could destroy you. I mean, they could go out there and write all kinds of negative reviews about you and Glassdoor reviews, and they could post videos talking about your personal life and, you know, all that negative stuff. Like the cost of a bad hire is insane. Yeah. So I think the first thing is people need to take their time when they're hiring. You've got to have a process, right? Just like when somebody buys a house, they don't just decide today, I want to buy a house and have a house tomorrow. But I watch agents all the time, like I want to have a team, and all of a sudden they have 10 agents tomorrow. Like there's got to be a process that you bring people through before you ever bring somebody onto your team. Like it's way better to spend a few extra hours up front as opposed to, you know, weeks on the back end cleaning up the mess that they made. So make sure that you have a process. The process that we follow, we use Trello. We just keep it very simple. My sales manager and I, we just have a process that we move people through. Trello is great for virtually everybody because it's just a very simple visual workflow. And so we start people out on the right. We're hiring at volume. We use a system called Spark Hire, S-P-A-R-K Hire. It allows us to do one-way video interviews with people. And so the way that it works is somebody is interested in joining our team. We send them to a page on our website, which if you want to recruit people, you better have a help wanted hiring join us page on your website. So they go to that page, and it has a video of me talking about our team, a video from my sales manager, and then it instructs them, hit this button and complete this Spark Hire interview. And it's essentially
where can we find that, Kyle? Where can we find your video?
Just go to whistlerealty.com and there should be a join our team button on there. That would be really bad if I didn't actually have that on. I'm talking about it. So they hit that, they go through the videos at the bottom. It's like complete an interview, and they do the Spark Hire interview. And so what's cool is we record our questions in advance. So this is all about duplication too, and about leveraging your time. So we sit down one time and spend an hour and record all these questions. And now what's cool is somebody could go and interview with us. They could interview right now at 12 p.m. They could interview with us at 12 a.m. It doesn't matter. They could do it at any time. It doesn't require me and this other person finding a mutually agreeable time and place for us to get together to do this first interview. They could do the interview at 12 a.m., 12 p.m. I could watch the interview at 4 a.m. or 4 p.m. It doesn't matter. So they go on. There's a video of my sales manager asking a question. Tell me about yourself. Now you hold your phone up or your computer and you record a video of you answering that question. Then there's a video of him asking you the next question. You record a video answering the next question. So it just allows this back and forth video interview to happen. And now we can watch those responses whenever we want. And he can watch them, I can watch them. We can comment back and forth and we can grade each response. And I can say, hey, I like this part. I'm a little concerned about that part. It's really, really cool. So we start people out with that Spark Hire, and that filters out probably 50% of the people right there. If you're not looking to invest in it, it's not cheap. It's like $150 a month. So it's not for everybody. So if you're not going to use Spark Hire, use something like Calendly. So you don't have to do the back and forth to find a time. Just send somebody a link, set up Calendly, send them a link, and they can schedule a time that fits your calendar. You have your buffer set and everything to make sure you don't overbook yourself. In that first interview, we're going for what's called WAY, which is what they taught us in that Keller Williams class. W stands for work experience. E is for education. I is for interest. G is for goals. And H is for habits. That's essentially like the 5 things that we're trying to get out of that first interview. It's just to really get to know somebody and see if we think there's potential for us to get into a relationship together. If we like them after that first interview, we'll invite them to come to an office meeting. The goal of them coming to that office meeting, now obviously it's a little bit weird now, but traditionally, let's assume we're back to normal. When they come to that office meeting, we're checking, like there's so many things that are happening that they don't realize. We're looking at what time do they show up? What are they wearing? What do they do when they show up? Like, do they show up and just sit in a corner and play on their phone, or do they get in the room and start introducing themselves to people and, you know, asking questions? During the meeting, are they going to be, you know, inconsiderate and be on their phone during the meeting? What do they do when the meeting's over? Do they stay and hang around a little bit and get to know people and ask questions, or do they jet out of there the second the meeting's over? Like, we're watching everything. We really want to get to know them. And if they hang around after, we'll invite them out to lunch and just get to see how they interact in like a social environment. Because I don't know if you know this, usually requires that you have the ability to be social to be a good realtor. Pretty tough to be a good realtor if you like to hide in caves all day and never talk to people. You gotta have an ability to talk to people. Next up, we do a 2-on-1 interview. My sales manager, who is a big burly dude who could be a little intimidating to people. So we also have a female in the room who's a part of that interview, just to kind of soften it. Plus we get 2 different approaches. Sometimes the way a male and a female perceive people could be a little bit different. And in that interview, we have them do a disc profile in advance of it. And we go through that disc profile in the interview to find out if it's accurate. Because a lot of people will do a disc profile and they'll bullshit you. And they'll tell you what you want to hear or what they think you want to hear. When you sit down with them, what they disked and what they really are 2 completely different things. So we do a lot of work on the disc profile, and ask a lot of standard interview questions. And then the last part of it is if they are a fit at that point, we'll invite them in for an expectations interview. And the expectations interview is, let's just put all the cards on the table up front. Like before we get in a relationship with each other, let's make sure you know exactly what's expected of us. We know exactly what to expect out of you. If we have any sensitive issues with you, how should we approach it? How should you approach it with me? What are we looking for you to do on a weekly basis? And what are we going to do for you? We put all the cards on the table. It's all signed in writing. All of that happens before we bring somebody on the team. And so in Trello, we just move them along that funnel as they go through each part of that process.
In Trello, what's the column names you use?
It's literally Spark Hire, office meeting, 2-on-1, expectation interview, and then we move them to either nurture, join team, join indie, or win another direction.
Okay, very cool. Wilson, I know you use a lot of webinar training, Eventbrite, Wise Hire. Like, what's your process for recruiting? Because you're not recruiting heavily. You're recruiting very specifically, just really high caliber people, right?
Yeah. I would love to hear Kyle's differentiation on when he makes that decision for a brokerage versus his team, and I guess the value proposition for either one. I would love to hear that. Regarding our process, we use Wise Hire. A lot of our leads for actually agents and operational staff, it's not so much going to be cold like Wise Hire. It's going to be because of our work in our area. So whether it's an agent encountering another person or word of mouth, someone hearing that we do good work in the area we serve, we find that typically that's been a better approach because they kind of know about us and the business that we run. So they know some of the qualities that our people might possess already. However, when we are going to be recruiting more so to the potential location versus just the team, I'm going to be looking for advice from people on this call in terms of how you differentiate your value and making sure that obviously there's no overlap of why is the brokerage receiving the same value as, let's say, the people on our team, and or what's the difference and what makes a candidate a better fit for the other while not affecting culture altogether because we're going to be sharing a space. But one of the ways that we auto filter, it's not as high tech as a one-way video to start, but we have an automated email that goes out once they submit an application that has some questions. And in those questions, it's more so value-based. It's more so what they're looking for and how they think, where they're headed. And also the last question is when they're available for a call. So if they never go through that process, they're never going to get a call with us for a 15-minute initial conversation. And from there, obviously, we go in-person meetings, shadow the team. How they interact with the team is really important to us. If they're awkward, then probably not going to be a fit. If they're okay with being around us, then probably that's a good sign. And then we go from there. We have an in-person one-on-one interview.
Great. Joey, Joey, why don't you speak about what your role is at KW for a lot of people who don't understand the system there?
Yeah, so Keller Williams, most brokerages have like a broker owner manager. That's one role, and that person has to sort of spew all of their knowledge across all 3 platforms. And unfortunately, you can be great at one and not great at the other 2, and something suffers. So Keller Williams separated those roles. So we have a separate broker who handles compliance and legal and agent questions, and then we have an owner who basically helps on the investor side of things. And then there's our role, which is called the team leader role, which is really like a manager / coach / recruiter. And
And every
my
office has
job,
one. Every office has one usually, or
typically one, and then for larger offices, there might be an assistant team leader. So somebody who handles, my job is to teach, train, consult the top 20% of the agents in the office, and then help with growth in the office. So in the last 2 years, I think I've recruited probably about 160 agents, 170 agents to the office. We all know that retention is something that fluctuates. So we build in about a 30% retention rate, or I'm sorry, we build out that 30% of the agents in our office currently will leave. So I have 180 agents in Cupertino. I just naturally assume that 40 plus are going to leave every year. So if I don't recruit, if I'm not growing, I'm dying. So I'm loving everything that I'm hearing, because it sounds like a lot of us are on the same page. I did everything wrong when I started, like literally everything. When I first started, I was like, anybody with a breath and a license can join a team, and anybody who's got a dream of, who's motivated and feels, and I like them as a person, can be on my team. And I had a team of 17 people, and it was horrible, like absolutely horrible. Because we all know that 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. So even with a team of 17, it was like 3 or 4 of us who were doing the majority of the work. And so I did exactly what everyone is talking about, is I partnered with an agent, and over the course of a year, I found out that they had stolen about $80,000 in commission from me. I went to my broker, and my broker basically at that time was like, listen, we don't want to get involved, so good luck. So I sued my partner. I left that brokerage, and I had to leave everything. I left all 17 team members. I left all my listings. I left all of my landlords, and I started over. And I told myself I wasn't going to make the same mistakes that I had made previously. So I went from 17 down to 5. And now we're at 3 plus myself. But in terms of recruiting for Keller Williams and growing the brokerage, I think we all have a similar approach to our recruiting, which is that I'm an agent. I understand what an agent's needs are, more so than I think a general manager might. And so my job is to build the most agent-centric offices on the face of the planet. Like, I want to be the Kaiser Permanente of real estate offices. So like everything you need is in-house. If you need a mover, we've got an in-house mover. If you need marketing, we've got in-house marketing. If you need a landscaper, we've got 3 that you can choose from. Like, everything is partner and value driven. And I do our hiring process. Like I said, I used to hire everybody, and I've gotten very specific about who joins my company, because you don't realize how important the culture of your team is until it's bad. And when the culture of that team is bad, when you've got people on that team who are just nobody likes, and you know nobody likes them, but they produce, and so you keep them, the best thing you could ever do is just get rid of those people, because there are plenty of other people who are hungry enough to grow that are going to be better fits for you culturally than having somebody who just makes you some money. And so I sort of taken on this aspect of, I have to share my mission, my vision, and my values of the company and of the agents that are required to be in my office. And if that person fits those criteria, then we can start to have a conversation about what it looks like to be at my office. Because I've got 180 something agents. If I bring one person on, that poisons the well for all of them. And I can't take that risk. I mean, these other people, 180 people, have said, yes, I want to be here with you, and I choose to be in this office with you. And when there's 37 other Keller Williams that could go to, and 100 other offices they could choose to be at. And so I've realized that I need to hire 51% motivation and values, and 49% money driven. And if the minute it flips in the opposite direction and you get somebody who's 51% money driven and 49% values driven, you lose. Because it doesn't matter what your split is. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how many deals they close. They're always going to want something beyond whatever you can provide, even if what you provide is the highest quality, because they're going to want more. And so having that differentiation between values and having our values in alignment, and then providing enough opportunity for income that they can grow and continue their growth plan, that's been, like, I think, the secret sauce. And then making sure that everyone who's at the brokerage understands that anybody who you refer to me has to be of that criteria. So I tell people I have 4 requirements for being in my office. The first is you have to be kind. If you're not kind, you can literally go anywhere else, but you're not going to be in my office. The second is you have to have an integrity with your word. So if you say you're going to do something, you say you're going to be somewhere for somebody, you show up and you do it. And if something happens and you have to change, you communicate. The third is you have to want to grow. Like you have to want to be better tomorrow than you were today. Like if you are interested in only closing 2 deals a year, that's awesome, but it's probably not a good fit for our brokerage because we're looking for people who want to be the most successful they can possibly be. And then fourth is you have to want to make money. Like you have to want to be profitable because no one gets their real estate license thinking, oh, thank God, now I can sit back and relax and not make any more money. No, you get your license because of one of 3 things. You get your license because you can see how much money you make, the potential is. You get your license because you're tired of working for somebody else and you want to work for yourself. Or you get your license because some skill set you had in your real human life you think translates to your real estate world. So my job is to make sure that we have the right cultural fit and that they're hungry enough that they agree to those 4 principles in the office. And honestly, it's taken a lot longer to switch that ship, to turn the ship around. But once you do, it's a game changer.
Awesome. Hey, so I have an interesting question. I just thought, so you run 2 offices, you're talking to hundreds of people. Like, what occupations do you see current people were most recently at? What's the most common occupation that are switching over to joining real estate right now?
I mean, I think we're unique in Silicon Valley because everyone's an engineer. So engineers are probably the most dual career agents that we find. If they're not, or they're doing something like they're teachers or they're working in some sort of service industry and they like the service aspect of things, but they hate the amount of money that they're not making. And so they see that if I have great service, I can translate great service into real estate sales, which honestly is the truth. People know, like you and I, everyone on this call knows this. Nobody cares what brokerage you work at. When you join Keller Williams, they don't care that you're at Keller Williams. They don't care you're at EXP. They don't care that you're with Wilson. They care if they like you. And if they don't like you, they're not going to work with you. And so we just have to find the right people who people like.
Kyle, so you're in a way different market, less tech-centric engineers. Like where have you seen a lot of the occupations that were in, like, and then what are some occupations come over that, what traits do they have that succeed, and like the variety of it?
Well, just so you know, the cure to coronavirus was potentially confirmed today out of San Diego. We are a biotech hub. So check out Sorrento Therapeutics. Their stock is up like 200% today because they've had some pretty good tests come back. 14 out of 15 people they gave it to at a hospital in New York got off ventilators within 24 hours. So it's pretty cool news. It's like the best test that's come out so far. So that's exciting. But in general, San Diego, I mean, I would say the majority of people who live here aren't from here. San Diego is definitely one of those destination areas. So more than 50% of the people in San Diego are from some other place outside of it. We don't have any specific industry that's stronger or weaker in San Diego, with military probably being the one exception. There's a lot of military people here. So our particular team does very well with people who have a military background. Like myself and my sales manager both have sports backgrounds, and sports and military run a lot of parallels because, whether you're in the military and you have a superior, you're in sports, you have a coach, like whatever your superior, your coach tells you to do, you do. And so we found that for our team, people with military backgrounds tend to do very, very well with us. There's also a lot of hospitality in San Diego with it being a vacation destination. So people that come from hospitality backgrounds that are used to high levels of customer service also tend to be really good realtors in our area.
Awesome. Wilson, like what are some of the backgrounds that, your team has come from?
Over half of the people that are on our team are from B2B sales. So whether it be software or they were selling a product, let's say at a big tech company or at a telecoms company. So a lot of people have come from in sales, and as we know in this industry, it's not just selling a house, it's building relationship with the consumers, and it takes a little bit more time than just getting on a phone and discussing terms and the services that the person needs and then handing it off to someone to finalize the contract. It's very different. So there definitely is a transition and a training, I guess you can say, program that we have for most people coming from out of industry. And pretty much every single person on our team has come from a different industry, started fresh in real estate. And I think going back to some things that have been said, the values of the person, caring more for people, being genuinely curious, being able to have and show some sort of track record of being open to delayed gratification is very important for us, because you're not going to go out there today and find a deal and make money. It's going to be a little different of a process and different mentality to take.
Yeah, so I mean, every team wants motivated people, hungry, wants to make money, nice, caring, you know, culture, right? Like if you had to describe your team in 3 words, what would it be, Wilson?
It's definitely integrity, it's consistent, and it's hardworking.
Okay, how about you, Kyle? Like 3 words to talk about your team.
Yeah, hungry, humble, and smart. Those are what we go for.
Like that. And Joey?
Probably kind, motivated, and learning based.
I think mine's probably be like social, hungry, and driven. Well, social, hungry, and driven, same thing. I think my team is a little bit different because you guys have a lot of structure in your team. I'm more new at this. I kind of just do my thing and I attract people that kind of want to just do what I do. So my recruiting requirements are a lot looser as I'm building this out. And this is also my 3rd team. My first one, I think, was like you guys, right? Just bring on whoever like that has a license and can do deals. I remember I first did a team my first year. I ended up like almost doubling my production from last year, but that whole thing imploded. You know, there's no accountability. People were stress cases, giving me a headache, yelling at each other, crying. There's a lot of
Kenny,
there's a lot of babysitting.
Kenny, I could describe you because I've observed you, right, as a new agent too. I know you're just 1 year more experienced than I am, but as I observe you early in your career and then up to now, I think you're definitely very hardworking, especially in your early career. You work super hard from what I could tell, showing properties, going to properties, like multiple properties every single day and working long hours. So definitely I would say hard work. And because of your history of willing to adapt and adopt different technologies, you're definitely someone that's really learning based too, and open and flexible because of that. So I think, I'm sure the agents that are with you, they admire some qualities of every single person. Like if they're with a business, they probably admire something about the person that's leading the business or the business itself and what this person or the company stands for. So I'm sure there's parallels there.
Appreciate that.
Hiring someone for your team or for your brokerage is no different than a listing presentation. Like if they don't like you, they're not going to work with you. If they don't see value in what you offer and what you do, they're not going to work with you. But I think the switch in the mindset where I think we are now is that it's not, do you want to work with me? It's, do I want to work with you? And are we going to work together well? Because I have got the systems and models in place for you to plug into. And the question is, are you ready, willing, and able to plug in the way that we need to do? Because I'm sure the way that you sell real estate, Kenny, is different than the way Kyle does, different than the way Wilson does, different than the way I do. Mm-hmm. We all know there's no wrong way. There's a wrong way, but there's no like defined way to sell real estate. It doesn't always look the same. And my systems are different than your systems, and we all are learning from each other. But when we find the people who are attracted to us, that's what we're doing, is we're just attracting as many people as possible who have like-minded interests and values. And we hope that they feel the same way about us.
And I think too, like, at least for my attracting, like I put myself out there a lot. I mean, yes, follow me on social and I show everything I do. So like when I've been able to attract agents, they're open to working the way I do. There's like 90% agents would never, ever work with me. They just don't like my system, my tool, my marketing. I think because of that, you're able to build a culture based on your culture. And like for myself, we track our stats on C-Suite, the number of calls made, appointments set, hours worked. I worked 4 times as much hours in the last month and a half than any of my agents on average. So like you know, I as a leader, like you don't tell, you wouldn't tell someone to do something that you wouldn't do. So there's a lot of things I don't do anymore because then I'm kind of graduated past now that, but then my team's open to doing those things when I tell them to do. I think like one success you guys have, especially like you, Joey, and Kyle with the bigger teams, because you guys are putting yourself out there and you're talking about what it is that you offer. You're able to have more conversations with people versus like small team leaders. They might be very good, but they're not able to scale because they're not putting themselves out there.
Do you guys, can I ask a question, Kyle and Wilson and Kenny, do you guys go out and seek people, or do you wait for them to come to you? Are you actively working to recruit, or are you letting people come to you and then working through the process with them?
Go ahead, dude.
So one thing I learned from Ben, who's my mentor, is you should find people that want your specific opportunity, not just a opportunity. So if we come across an individual that's really gung-ho about real estate, but of course they're doing their due diligence to talk to multiple teams and it comes down to things that really don't truly matter, then we're gonna just let them go. We rather find someone that's committed to our cause and committed to our systems and our people. And they'll show up in a different way. Their language is gonna be different too. So we are quite selective for when someone's joining the team. And then when it comes to the brokerage side, that's something that's a little newer for us.
And Kyle, are you actively outbound looking for agents?
Yeah, constantly. But honestly, the number one way to attract agents and or recruit, whatever term you prefer to choose, the number one way you do that is to sell more houses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just going to be honest. There's no magic ad. It's not like, oh, I put this on WiseHire or Indeed or Craigslist or whatever. Like, no, you just go sell a shitload of houses. Like, that's the number one way to recruit more agents, is to sell more. If you sell more homes, you recruit more agents. I promise you. There's nobody out there who's selling 100+ million who doesn't have people calling them asking how they can be a part of what they've got going on. It naturally happens. The more you sell, the more people want to be a part of what you're doing.
I like that we're all like really focused on that too. Production creates attraction. I like post on IG a couple times a week. Got that from Wilson. I think Wilson.
Yeah, you post once or twice a week on IG. I'm pretty sure you post more in one day on IG than all three of us combined.
I think I almost cracked 100 yesterday.
This is insane.
But I mean, like, I've recruited like, I'm like 90 something agents by now. Like 90% of my recruiting just comes through social media. So the more I post, the more I talk about business, the more I'm like talking to you guys, like the more people want to talk to people who sell more business.
You're taking up more property space on social. That's what it is.
Mind share, right? Mind share versus market share. I don't have the market share yet, but I'm getting all the mind share. So if they come, we work together, and then I have the market share.
Yep. That's great.
So here's a like off question. So Joey, you recruit for KW. KW has certain mission statements and such. Like you have 2 offices, right? Are they any different when you recruit for them?
I think the tools, the systems, the models are all the same, which is really nice because then we don't have to remember what we do. I think the culture in each office is different. I think that for, Palo Alto is like its own little microcosm within the universe.
What's the average price there?
Average price is 2.2 million. In our office is about 2.2 million. And in Cupertino, it's about 1.4.
Okay, that's pretty significant. 50% difference, right?
Yeah, I mean the average price in Palo Alto is in the $4 million range, so it's just astronomical. But it's just ridiculous. So we can sell 10 houses and make $500,000, an agent in Palo Alto can sell 10 houses and make $500,000. But the community in Palo Alto is very tight knit, whereas the community in Cupertino is much more. I think it's a little bit more open. So it's just a different vibe, but I think both apply. I mean, I also think that communication, culture, all of that comes from the top. And so slowly but surely the offices will adapt to how the leadership operates. And I stepped into Palo Alto about a week before coronavirus, and I'm learning the culture right now, seeing where to step and where not to. And at the same time, I know that eventually in a year or 2 years, this will be my office. And if I recruit another 100 agents a year, in 2 years, I'll have 200 agents that are in that office that were my recruits. So it's just it'll change over time, just as it naturally does.
Cool. We have some questions from the audience. Charlene asks, do you require agents to show up to the office or anything specifically each week? What happens if agents break the standard? And do you have a preference on how long recruits have been in business? Joey, why don't you talk about that?
I didn't, and I do now. How do I say this without sounding like an asshole? I have never met a busier agent than the agent who closes 2 deals a year. I've never met there's a different mindset when you talk to somebody who closes 20, 30, 40, 50 deals a year versus somebody who closes 2 or 3. And so I have stopped having conversations with 2 and 3 deal producers and changed my conversations to people who want to have business conversations and not split conversations. Because when you close 50 deals a year, 20 deals a year, 30 deals a year, you make great money where I live. You make phenomenal money. And with my company, because we're a 100% commission company, when you reach that cap, it's a different conversation, because in my offices, you can close 4 transactions and be at 100% commission. And so when you're at 2 transactions, you're trying to hold on to as much as possible. So to answer that question, I have changed the conversations that I have, because I've realized it's much easier to have a business conversation with an agent who actually knows how to close transactions. And 2, I think if anything, coronavirus has taught us that office requirements are really meant for to keep accountability for your team, but there are plenty of technology solutions that allow us to do that without having to be in a physical space. Nice. And I also think that coronavirus has taught us who shows up on the team and who doesn't show up on the team. And those people who don't show up are the people who won't be on the team when all this is over, and the people who do will be the ones who thrive.
Awesome. And Kyle, so like Kyle, you operated a true brokerage, and you still do, but just brokered by EXP now. Like, what kind of are there any requirements you have, minimum standards you have for your team and your brokerage agents?
Yeah, I would say one, let's be very, very careful with that R word. The required word is a delicate subject here in California, so we should get very careful about what we require. We have a lot of extremely strong recommendations for our team members. So yeah, and that's where we tie in back to the original interview process. We do that expectations interview. We make it very, very clear from day one what's going to be expected of them. So that's things like getting on huddles every morning. It's role playing every day. It's power houring every day. It's coming to office meetings. It's doing open houses. It's all of those things. We make it very, very clear up front that those are what the expectations are from them. And then we tie leads, or we're running like a lead shift model. We tie the lead shifts to those expectations. And you mentioned Sisu, we use Sisu as well. So we track all of those expectations in Sisu, and then based on the people who meet or exceed the expectations, they get to pick the best shifts. Which tend to give them the most leads and ultimately help them make the most money. So you've got to tie, outcomes to your expectations. If you just tell people like, you got to do this, 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 and this, okay, what if they do? What if they don't? What's going to happen? What's the outcome? So I think that that's really important when you're working with agents. And the most important thing is putting those expectations out there up front. Like, I have an agent who worked with me, and she got married to this guy. And the guy up front told her, like, I'm never going to have a kid. I don't want to have a kid. And they ended up getting married, and they got divorced like 2 years later. Why? Because she wanted a kid and he didn't want to have one. Like, the hell, he told you up front he didn't want to have a kid. Like, if we can get those expectations out there up front, we can avoid a lot of headache later on down the road.
See, I think the R word I use a lot is a reward. Like same thing. Like, you have lead shift. Like we have a full ISA. We have 2 ISA calls. People calling 8 to 10 hours a day. They warm up probably like 6 or 7 phone appointments a week for us, where they re-nurture a client, and then that way it's a warm handoff. So the agents who are putting in the time, showing up at the office, doing open houses, that are actively making calls, they might not get the results they want, but we're here to accelerate that and feeding some business to get them going a little quicker. Wilson, how about you? Like, what are some expectations you have for your team members? You run you run like my coach says, you have a SWAT team, versus just a big, large army. You really have an elite group, right?
Yeah, we tread lightly on the word required too, and we make a strong recommendation that they do, because just like there's actions are tied to certain perks and outcomes that we deliver to our agents that show up, that commit to our standards. So one of those standards is to be at huddle every morning and to contribute, because we start off the day stronger together. If I had two agents side by side, one that joined, that talked about their gratitude, that role played with us, that heard all the wins that people are encountering and heard all the hurdles that people are encountering, they could use that for their next call. They could use that when they get an up call from a client that has a unique situation, versus the person that stayed up late and woke up late and hasn't showed up to the office and gets that same up call. They're not going to be in a position mentally and physically, obviously, to be ready to convert that. So we have a reasonable expectation that every single person follows standards on when we're going to show up for huddle, for team meetings. There's standards on contacts that they're going to have to make per day. And we tie that to their splits too. So their splits are affected if they don't show up and they don't do certain actions, because that's them self-selecting and voting with their actions that they want to make less money. So it's tied to their productivity and ultimately how much money they make.
Same on our team, we have splits at 4 million, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. These 2 million tiers increases the team split from 50 to 75%. So our top producers right now are right around 70-75%. I wouldn't be able to make any more money on them, and I'm actually feeding them more business, and they're handling a lot of our listings. We have another question from Sylvia Purcell. If you have an agent that wants to work on your team and you don't like it, how do you say no? Sounds like a pretty easy. How do you say, Joey? You say no a lot, I'm pretty sure.
I do say no a lot. Honestly,
okay.
the ability to say no is where the power lies. But it's very simple. It's like, look, I think you're a wonderful human being. You seem like a great agent. I don't know that we're a good cultural fit. And for those reasons, I'm out. It's like Shark Tank. No, I just don't know that we're going to be a good fit together. Here are a couple other offices or a couple other agents that I know are looking for teams that I think you might be a great fit for. If you ever need anything, of course, don't hesitate to reach out. And thanks for taking the time with us.
I've done that a lot too. Recommend them to other offices, and like a lot of times even before someone meets with me, I give them a list of other agent companies. They sound good on the phone, like, hey, I think you should talk to these people too, because I want them to see the different values that each company provides, because I feel like my organization provides a lot more, just because I'm still in the trenches and selling, and I'm still a day-to-day agent. Kyle, how do you say no to people?
I just tell them to call Keller Williams. That's just, I don't have what it takes for us, but maybe Keller Williams can help you.
Or, well, we've heard this, go to Keller Williams first, get your training, and then call me back in the year.
No joke. That's what we used to say. I really did do that. I'm not lying. But honestly, now, I mean, you're with EXP with us. One of the cool things, the new opportunities that we have is now if somebody's not a fit for my team. So like when I'm interviewing somebody, I'm looking at 3 different buckets I place them in. First and foremost, I'm deciding if they're a cultural fit and they're, on board with what we're doing and we're all rowing in the same direction. If so, I'm just deciding, are they better for my team or my independent side? If they're not a fit at all, they're rowing in the opposite direction. We have a very simple conversation. And it's like, you know what, based on our conversation, I don't know that our team is really the right fit for you. It sounds like you want a lot more freedom to do what you want when you want. Like we talked about, we have a lot of expectations on our team, and I just see us butting heads a lot there. So rather than you joining our team, I'd rather you join our group over here at EXP, and you can plug in and get this, and this. So now instead of kicking him to the curb to KW, we just put him into EXP and plug into EXP systems.
I'm at EXP too, and same conversation, because in our team, I wanted to be very, very tight. The thing about my team is a lot of people may not even know anything about my team. I've had a lot of conversations last month. It's just because I'm still a very active agent. People want to reach out to me to work with me or get my training and support with my admin. So a lot of people aren't really here for the team. So we'll stick some of them there, but lately I've been finally building out my brokerage side. A lot of people just want my tools and system and marketing help, so you can land there. If someone's not a good fit, they might still consider EXP, or they're geographically really far or just do business a lot different, then they can come to EXP and we'll be able to support them from afar. Wilson, how do you say no to your agents?
Yeah, it's simple. We just tell them sometimes it's not a good fit, or another easy way is
you have more no's than yes, right? Because you have 8 solid agents. So
Yeah.
do a lot of
And
business.
also, we don't have a position available right now, and we'll keep you in mind for the future. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh,
Straightforward.
okay. See, real easy. Just be direct. If they can't
Yeah.
take a no, they're not gonna let you on stage.
We'll see how persistent they are. That's part of the process.
Cool. Okay, Vivian had a really great question to stay on you, Wilson. For your leadership skills, did you learn that from your mentors, or how did you start that journey? Mentorship.
Yeah,
Were you ever on a team,
definitely.
Wilson, also, like, you started 9 years ago. Were you ever on a team? Like, I personally was not on a team before. I'm not
I
sure.
was not either. Yeah. I think, honestly, I think it comes from the natural desire to want to learn. And, what are you learning, and what are you pursuing, and identifying that. So I do learn a lot from other people, and the way I see it is, how can I apply it for myself and my business? And every single person on this team, just like how we sell real estate's different, I think how you apply it really matters, because our personalities, our values, the way we do things are all different. So as much as we can take a look at successful people and what they're doing, and they're clearly doing something right, what can we take and adapt in our business? And not everything, but there's definitely some things that we can.
Great. I actually have a question. I'll come back. I'm going to go around once. I'm going to ask you about, like, how you can be a good mentee, because you coach, mentor with Ben. But we'll go Kyle first. Kyle, like, mentorship, where are you getting mentorship from, your leadership skills?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is, if you want to get to a certain level, get yourself around people that are at that level. So one of the groups that I've really been plugging into a lot lately is John Cheplack's organization. I went to one of his events recently, and you had Chris Lindahl there, who's doing 2,000 plus deals a year, and Gary Ashton and Greg Harrelson, and like all these people that are selling thousands of houses per year. If I want to get to that level, I need to get around those people. And so that's just been the way that I've run my business. And with our group at EXP, getting around guys like Jay Kinder and Michael Reese that are brilliant, that have sold thousands of houses. Like, we've been working with Michael Reese, and he is like completely blown my mind recently to like what's possible with digital marketing, and talking about like how we build these funnels, and we have alternative offers and AB offers and retarget back, and like it's crazy, this stuff that we've learned. So get around the people that are where you want to be. That's the number one way to get to where you want to go.
For sure. I 100% agree with that. And Joey, where are you getting your leadership and mentorships?
I mean, I think Kyle's 1,000% correct. You are a representation of the top 5 people that you hang around. And if the top 5 people you hang around suck, you suck. And so I just think I identify people who I want to be like, and then I tell them I want to be like them. And I rip off and duplicate R&D as much as I possibly can from what they do. And obviously add my own spin on it. But I feel like all of us here are very learning-based human beings. And so the more, I just want to take in as much information as possible from as many people as I possibly can that I respect. So I have a coach. I think everyone on his call probably has a coach. I think any top athlete on the planet has a coach. And if you're looking to be a top performer, you need a coach. So I have a coach, I have a life coach, and I have a business coach. And I also have a bunch of people who I follow who do great things, who I learn from.
That's awesome. I mean, and that's why everyone needs to seek out mentors. You could have one solid mentor, or everyone could be a mentor if you're out asking a lot of questions, because coaching is very expensive. I feel like you should squeeze out what you can from your mentors and your peers before you look into coaching, because you don't want to be spending time on the phone with a coach asking how to start a farm, or stuff you can get for free in a lot of places.
Honestly, you can just go and ask. Like, just
ask people.
Go ask somebody to have a cup of coffee, and the odds are they'll say yes if they have the time.
Okay. Let's do Wilson, and then Kyle, and we'll wrap this up. Wilson, so how can one be a good mentee? Because you coach, you mentor with Ben Kinney and Gary Keller in the past. Like, how do you get those opportunities?
I think you earn your way in, just like your market share. You earn your market share. You earn your presence. You earn your reputation. And you have to be purposeful about putting yourself in front of who you want to be in front of. And I think it comes down to relational skills. It comes down to, being able to have emotional intelligence, not to do, stupid things, but also to ask because you feel like you have the right to ask. If you feel like you have the right to ask and you feel like you're in a position to ask, then do it. I think most people are, they probably have bad self-talk, or they talk themselves out of it. They have the limiting beliefs about it. I think everything is earned, you know, on our team. To succeed, you earn it. You don't, it's not given to you because you've been here for 5 years. And as our industry adapts, you have to adapt to it too. So you have to show your intention to grow, to learn, and to ask for it. So
I think, I mean, look outside looking in, right? Like, you're a strong mentee, you're getting good leadership training because you're implementing the things that your leaders or mentors are telling you to do. You know, you probably got good suggestions from your last broker owner or team leader, and you're doing those things. So it's exciting when a mentor or leader is helping groom leaders that are moving up in that position. There's like, I'm not sure you guys read the book, The 5 Levels of Leadership. That's been a really awesome book to show. Like, I forgot the first step is like, people follow you just because you're told to. This is your manager, follow them. And then at like later stages, like, people follow you because of what you do, and people follow you for what you represent. Actually, that's level 3 and 4. People follow you for what you do. Level 4, people follow you for what you represent. And level 5, which is top of the leader pyramid, is people follow you because you're building other leaders. And that's kind of how you build your name. Like right now, like, you guys are all sharing all the information on there, so you're building out other leaders, you know, indirectly and directly. Kyle, I know you have to run in a minute. Any last remarks? We'll probably stick around for 10 more minutes after that.
I'm trying to think of anything last remarks. I want to re-emphasize the importance of that expectations interview. I don't want to overcomplicate. I don't think we need to add anything new. That expectations interview is the most important part of the entire hiring process. You've got to make sure that people know exactly what to expect from you and what exactly you expect from them. Like, get the cards on the table up front, because it takes a lot of time and energy and effort to onboard somebody. And if you onboard the wrong person, and only to realize, like, if part of our thing is that you're going to power hour 5 days a week, and the thought of even getting on the phone makes you break out in hives, like, we're probably not a good fit, right? Like, let's squash that before it even becomes an issue. So don't skip steps in your hiring process. Have a process, stick to the process, don't deviate from it. And that will go a long ways as you build out your organization. Great.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Kyle. Really appreciate all the comments. So we had a great question for Hakeem Love on Facebook, because you guys are team leaders, I guess broker-ish owners too. What are you guys doing to help your agents build their brands? Wilson, like, you have, so Wilson, you're at Own Real Estate, but you go by Wilson Leung Associates, and then you're building your associates. The name on the MLS is you're just Wilson Associates or something like that?
That's right. So for market share purposes, we document everything under a team ID. It's something that all our team members could leverage. I think every individual has different aspirations. Even if they're on a team or they're independent, it's going to be important for those individuals to make known what it is that they want to achieve. And it's not just about, I want this and I should get it. Going back to something that was said earlier, everything is earned by the individual. So if they say they want something and they take the actions to pursue it, then it's our job as a team lead to help them pursue that. So we're a supporting cast to what it is that they want. And let's say it's specific to real estate, it's building a geographic farm, whatever it is, we need to support them. But they have to identify what it looks like to them. We can't design it for them, because how do we know it's really what they want? So, but they have every right to build their own brand, just like we have as team leaders built our name. I think a lot of our teams are based on our name because, you know, we started it and we still are running in our business, minus Joey. And if they have expectations to do something similar, they have to put in the work. Just because they're on a team, it doesn't mean that they have shortcuts. Yes, they do in terms of a learning curve and in terms of possibly business and ways to do things are easier, but they still have to make sure they put in their time. And putting in their time on, hopefully because they're on a team, the activities that get them faster results. So they have to work.
Cool. Joey, like, what are some of the things you're doing to help your agents build their brands?
So that's honestly, it's one of the reasons why I love KW so much, is because the brand is not Keller Williams. The brand is the agent. Like, I've said it, I'll say it 1 billion times, but no one cares what brokerage you work at. Nobody cares. And so the question then becomes, it's different when you're on a team within a brokerage, right? Team structure within a brokerage. But if we're talking about individual agents who are looking to grow their team, you're not going to advertise your team at Intero or your team at Coldwell Banker or your team at Keller Williams. You're going to advertise your brand, and then everyone comes to you. So one of the things we do is anybody who has a business big enough where they're ready to have a team is that we have a marketing team at both Keller Williams that's going to build a full brand suite for you. So they're going to ask you deep dive questions into who you are, what you want to be, what your goals are, what your mission is, your values, your vision, and then they're going to build a brand that you feel like is associated with that, so that we can attach it. And sometimes that's your name, and sometimes it's something that has nothing to do with your name. But I found that the biggest teams out there start with their name and then end up having to transition into something that's a little bit more generic. Because as they expand, their name doesn't mean as much in the expansion areas. And so they transition to a more approachable name.
Cool. Yeah, man, I think I see that happening a lot. California is tough because your team name must have your last name in it. Or you say group. So, I mean, 3 weeks ago, I applied to change my name to Kenny Trung Fast instead of Kenny Trung because I got flagged by EXP. But I see like why companies like Side Real Estate is doing really well, because then they're able to scale that team name into like a brand. And then for last comment for me, like for me, I love social, I love branding, and one of the biggest value adds I have for my team members is helping them build their unique brands. So everyone on my team has a different unique logo or design. They're creating their own content on Canva, but we share a lot of it. And then right now, like the EXP model, like no one even cares I'm an EXP. Like it's kind of cool. I'm at EXP because a lot of people don't even know what it is. So now I'm the brand and face of my business and who I'm growing. So we filed a DBA for Fast Real Estate in case people do want a brand to align with that's known, like Keller Williams or Own or Side. But I think that's the future of real estate. Like you want to grow a large team, you got to support the agents in their growth, and because then they don't have to want to be there. They want some of the glory.
Can I say one thing in addition to that? Agents, the real estate industry has been the same for 100-something years. And if you drive around this is my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt, but if you drive around any of these cities, anywhere, and it doesn't matter where they are, if you look at any of the branding for traditional brokerages, the biggest name on the sign is the brokerage and the smallest name on the sign is the agent. And if we can agree that nobody cares what brokerage you're at, we need to switch that immediately. Like agents need to demand that Coldwell Banker stop advertising Coldwell Banker and start advertising their broker, their name. Like, and people at Intero need to stop advertising Intero because it's not helping them build their brand.
But it is, Joey. I'm just kidding.
We have broker Stockholm syndrome. We think we need our brokers to be successful, but like you two are over here showing and proving that has nothing to do with your success. EXP did not make you successful, Kenny. And look, your brand is yourself. Like you made yourself successful, Wilson. So stop advertising some brokerage, some third-party company that wants to pay the shareholders, not the agents. It's just crazy to me.
Cool. That was a great last remark. Okay, Wilson, last remark, we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, I think we're in a room, including Kyle, who had to leave us. We're all really, really learning based and experienced people to what we have experienced. So if people have questions, reach out. Kenny, myself, Joey, Kyle, we're all here to help. So.
And watch out, we will probably recruit you if you like this video. Anyways, thank you guys. Thank you all for joining today. I really like talking about these interesting topics, and we had a really great panel today. If you need anything, just hit us up on Facebook or Instagram. All right. See you guys.
See ya. Thanks.
See you. Take care, guys.
Care.
Thanks for everything.